Hi, this is Cole Webb with the YouTube reflection number 2, and we'll just get right to it. The most prolific thing that I think I learned from these modules was having those 5 elements for effective collaboration. I think good collaboration is not possible if you don't have those 5, and it'll just kind of fall apart if you're lacking one. Of the 5, for me, I think the 2 most important are the agreeing upon ground rules and agreeing to work out your differences. Because if you don't have ground rules to look at when you have these problems, you're not going to get anywhere. And then if you can't just kind of agree to disagree and work through that, you're also not going to get anywhere. The second thing I think was really a good point in these modules was having the common purpose. If you don't have a common purpose, you're just not gonna get anywhere. And I think oftentimes this can be overlooked. It's just, say for a school project, you're like, oh, I need to get this rubric done, this project done. But if you don't do a deep dive into it, then your common purpose is kind of lacking, therefore making your project really difficult. And then the last thing I found really significant was that controversy isn't necessarily a bad thing. From controversy, sometimes we get some of our best ideas. But that goes back to those 5 elements of collaboration. Agreeing to work through the disagreements is crucial when you do have a controversy. Another thing about maintaining and building trust, I think for me personally, that one thing that I like to do is just get to know people on more of a personal level. Because when I know someone on a personal level, I'm more likely to work good for them, and I hope to do the same. If I know you personally, I'm not gonna want you to fail. I think one thing that is kind of cheesy and maybe overplayed, but I've done in the past, is just to do your simple cliche team building exercises at the beginning of a meeting or something. Like I said, very cliche and sometimes overdone and seems really awkward, but I think that helps you get to know people on a personal level. As far as going virtually, I think it's very crucial to still have that trust, but it's also very, very difficult to get that because you're just looking at someone through a screen. I think, during the pandemic, we obviously had to adapt to building that trust online, and it's still something we need to work on. But again, I just think doing something that may seem kind of weird and boring, such as a quiz that everyone can participate in, and just have some lighthearted competition is a good way to build trust over the virtual setting. I think having the common purpose, having a common purpose in a group makes everything so much easier. I've seen, for me at Virginia Tech, groups that have the common purpose, it's just, they're a lot better. Say for a class, your common purpose is to get a good grade. I don't want to slack off because I don't want a bad grade. And I also don't want my group members to slack off. That would cause me to get a bad grade. And outside of school, I like to look at a sports team. Your common purpose is to win games or win a championship. So you're going to push each other to do their best every day in and day out, so you can achieve that goal. Looking at the change of venue, I think the change of venue is a very good thing. It kind of puts both people in a weird and kind of uncomfortable situation. No one has the home field advantage. I think we can look at sports and see this a lot with the neutral zone sites. Therefore, no team has that upper hand. And then looking at this in a debate / argument setup, I think doing those public meetings is it's good because it's you broadcast to a larger audience, you get your points across, but it's also kind of uncomfortable because it is in that public place. Then it's kind of this is like different from the private setting, because like in the private you might not be as like say extreme as you were in the public, because if you look at like politics and like these debates, you kind of have to be more extreme to win over viewers. But if you were like in your own home, you might not actually think that way. Just like I said, you just kind of need to win over the public view in that situation. Looking at the activity to like how to approach a tough conversation, I think it was a good activity. Like these tough conversations are very difficult to have, obviously, hence the name. I think the biggest thing that it showed me is like that I disagree with someone who has opposite of view of me, that they are also going to disagree with me. And just knowing this going in, it might make it easier for me to level and reason with that person, just and not to get too like hot-headed. And then finally, like my current grade is an A in the class, which I am happy with that. I have like done the work and done the readings and responded to everyone. The discussion posts have been like a cool thing to look back on and just see different views on the same readings. One thing that I think throughout like the rest of the course that I could still grow on is just like think more personally about everything, like each specific topic, and try to relate that to an event that I have experienced. And I just think that will allow for me to continue to grow throughout the course.